All right, today we are going to be going to Tommee Profitt's home studio. Tommee Profitt is an American songwriter, record producer, and composer. If you're unfamiliar with him, he has completely dominated the world of cinematic music. He has also written and produced artists including Migos, Hunter Hayes, Josh Groban, Avril Lavigne, Flurry, and NF, whose single Let You Down went over 7 times platinum. In addition to that, his cover of Linkin Park's In the End with Flurry has gained over 75 billion streams. Now, outside of being incredibly talented and creative with his own music, his studio where he makes his music, I think, is a direct reflection of that creativity, as well as a collection of a bunch of things that inspire him. In this tour, we're gonna get to go through his studio, his story, his workflow, also the vocal chain that he uses on every artist that he works with. I wanna thank Sweetwater for sponsoring this video. I'll have more on that at the end of the video, so make sure to stick around. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and let's go check it out.
Hey, I'm Tommee Profitt. Welcome to my studio.
Wow, holy crap. This is a lot of stuff on the staircase here.
It's a little gaudy.
No, man, it's great. This is all stuff you've had music like placed on and used in?
Yep, so these are TV shows and movies and video games that have used my music in one way or another.
God.
Either in the trailer or in the actual like episode or movie.
How long have you been doing this now?
Probably 2015.
What?
So
That's
like specifically pitching for movie trailers. I mean, I've been doing music longer than 2015.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But like cinematic trailer music, I've been doing for about 8 years now.
So this is like your home studio, but it's like its own section of the house.
Yeah, like that way is like the white farmhouse my wife decorated. This way is painted black walls. Everything you touch is smart and controlled by Siri, and it's like a different world. It's very jarring to walk, into this room from over there. So
yeah, that's awesome. So you always like the darker space,
yeah, I'm
aesthetic.
Kind of a dark mode guy.
Me too.
So
oh yeah, I saw this bathroom before. It's crazy sink. The flat
sometimes people come out here and they wash their hands because it's a little unnerving to just let water run out on the counter without thinking there's a drain,
And you got a nice kitchenette out here too.
Oh dude, this is my favorite thing. I have to show you this. So I found this Keurig that hooks up to a water line.
Oh, nice.
So you never have to fill the reservoir with water. It's always connected, it's always ready. You just put it in there and hit a button.
Oh my gosh, that's
I didn't know
great.
they made those. I just randomly found them, so.
And is this one of those things that keeps it hot? Your cup?
Yes. Ember. Actually, look, I just got this. This is an Ember mug.
Oh my
Signature series with the logo on it.
Nice.
And so I was pumped about that. Yeah, dude, that's probably one of my favorite like smart products ever. Taking a drink of coffee an hour after you pour it and it's still just as hot is kind of a weird feeling at first, you know what I mean? So this is the Bat Cave we're entering now.
This is remarkable. So this is technically also above the garage, right?
Yes.
So tell me about the theme of this room.
We built this house 3 years ago on this property, and it was the first time I got to like plan my studio from the beginning, like everything I wanted to be, instead of just retrofitting a space, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I basically said, I want it to look 1/3 Bat Cave, 1/3 inside of a Tesla, and then 1/3 like movie theater, since that's my other favorite dark space to sit in all day.
You did a great job.
I feel like it accomplished those things. I had a couple people help with like the acoustic panels on the ceiling and help pick furniture, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wanted a space that I couldn't wait to get to every day, and I had a hard time ripping myself away from at the end of the day.
I think we all know about that, but man, it's so cool when you get to do it from the beginning.
Yeah.
And really build it out. So since I got here, I had you open up this window so we could see a little more of the cool collectibles and things that you
Actually,
have.
my wife appreciates that because it's the first time I've seen sun in about 3 weeks. So thank you for doing that. It's funny, I always leave the shades and the curtains and it's like blacked out.
Yeah.
But when people come here, they're like, man, do you have any windows? Like,
Yeah.
People like sunlight, I guess. Is that
Weird.
I can't relate to that.
I was just gonna point out that normally this room is in full dark mode.
Yes.
And the only reason we can see you right now is because these beautiful windows you have are open right now. But yes, you normally keep it nice and Batcave-esque in here.
The second you want me to shut them again, just let me know and I'll glad. I'm like starting to like smoke a little bit. This is why I look like string cheese all the time.
The build out of this. So this is a new build, right? So you got to design how the studio was gonna go into the space. Did you work with someone on like the acoustic side of this build?
A little bit. We kind of had the blueprints and everything figured out, but I brought in a guy named Josh Niles. He has a company, Niles Acoustic and Design or something.
Yeah.
And he kind of helped. Here's the type of HVAC you should put in.
Yeah.
You should make this symmetric. They put a bunch of stuff, on the walls, and they made these acoustic panels that are like
big clouds,
backlit with Hue play bars or Hue light strips. And they did a really good job. It looks amazing.
This is the first room I've ever seen a build that wasn't white with silver papier.
Yeah. Even the glass doors, like I have a blackout shade, a blackout every possible inch of sunlight.
That brings me to the smart element of this. Tell me about that part.
Yeah, like I'm like a huge smart home nerd with like smart home products. And so when we designed the house, I just wanted the whole house to 100% be Apple HomeKit compatible, so we can have it all in one app, right, the home app, and we can put iPads around the house so that people can control it. And you can use Siri to control everything, right? Every light switch, bathroom fan, fireplace, like every switch, the shades.
Oh my gosh.
So that's more of like a hobby, for me.
Yeah.
So in here, I got to do as much as I possibly could cram into this space.
Yeah.
In the house, it's kind of, my wife's like, you can control it that way, but I want to switch.
Yeah.
So everything you can still control with a button on the wall, but you can also use your voice and your phone.
You've got like instruments and stuff on it, right?
Yeah. My Nord keyboard is on it. Iron Man is on a smart outlet too.
Oh my gosh.
So I can I usually tell Siri to turn on my studio in the morning, and the whole thing comes on, and the TVs and the monitor and piano, like it all lights up,
That's nice.
Then when I leave, very sad moment, but it's also satisfying.
Yeah.
To hit a button and like, you almost hear the
When you go to shut these, what's the move?
I usually will just yell from my desk, "Hey Siri, close the studio shades." You know how when you're not filming, it's instant, and then when you film, it's like takes the extra 10 seconds. But I'm usually doing an email at my desk, and I'll just yell to shut the shades, and they'll go down behind me or whatever. Way better. This is more at home for me.
Yeah, this is very cool in here. It's like almost kind of got a little bit of an arcade kind of feel.
These almost add like a Tetris effect, to the room. These are like the coolest thing ever, and a lot of people have never heard of them. They're called Nanoleaf canvas tiles.
Okay.
And every single one of these squares is like a programmable smart home button. So
Oh my God.
you can program these to control anything. So I can push this and my thermostat will drop to 70, my shades will shut, my garage door will open, you can unlock the doors, whatever. Turn all the studio lights red, turn all the studio lights blue, like you can do anything. So I think, and there's like so many, so that's amazing.
Yeah.
I haven't programmed any yet, but the idea of being able to excites me.
What made you build this space, and what was the motivation behind it?
It's really funny because I think I did this without realizing it. When I was a kid, I was like 12, maybe 13. I was always sitting in my parents' dark, unfinished cement basement, all by myself with headphones on. All the lights were off. I was programming MIDI, like building tracks and making, instrumental music or whatever, and printing albums and doing that whole thing. Like I just kind of always had my own thing. And so now it's like 25 years later, and I've recreated that dark basement feel for myself to still just sit in and be creative and let my brain think. And you know, obviously have people come in quite a bit to collaborate. There's lots of days where I'm in here by myself, finishing tracks or coming up with ideas. And since I have so many days by myself, I just wanted this to feel like my own happy room with all of my things from my childhood. I have a lot of nostalgic statues and little figures and comics and things, you know what I mean? That's just part of my whole story, you know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
that was probably the most fun part for me. You know, I'm kind of a collector, so I guess, you know, putting my collection in one place that I could sit and be inspired and create.
It's cool, you've got this piano in here,
Yeah.
but then you have a very, what seems to be purpose-built setup. Tell me about this setup.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I'm all about like, just what's practical, right?
Yeah.
Like for me to have tons of gear and I don't use it, like, there's no point in that. In my last studio, I was telling you this earlier, like I built this whole vocal booth in the corner.
Yeah.
I like wired it all and hung a TV up and big glass soundproof door and like, you know, had a camera and everything, talk back, and I set it all up. And in 2.5 years that I was there after that, I didn't use it once. Well, I tried, but like no one would record in there.
Yeah.
Everyone was always like, I just want to stand right next to you like we've always done it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
here, at least in town, like people aren't used to going into an isolated booth where they can't see you and they can't hear you.
Yeah.
And then if your talkback mic is not on constantly, they're like, are they talking about me? Was that take really bad? Like, you know what I mean? We've always just done, every single thing I've ever recorded has been right here next to me. So this one mic channel is the only one channel of audio that I ever record. Everything else is 100% in the box.
Wow.
Instruments and sound libraries and plugins, like that's all that I use. Obviously, I'll mic singers and vocalists as well as sometimes like a big choir. They come in here and we stack 6 to 10 people, you know what I mean? A couple times. But if I ever need guitars or drums or anything like that, which is not often, I'll send it to somebody who has a setup and they do it at their place.
Sure.
So I just wanted to keep this all, you know, only the stuff that I use. So I think this is a 39 or 42 inch LG TV
It's pretty big.
that I use for my monitor.
Yeah.
And it fits, I measured it before I bought it.
yeah.
It fits between these two racks, literally within like 1/8 of an inch. Like it's
Oh my gosh.
perfectly fit there. And my charger's
That's
under
cool.
here, and I'll just pull this out and put my phone on it when I'm working.
Oh, nice. See, that'll be the thing that I'm like, what are those? Those
yeah.
are nice.
Nomad.
Nomad. Oh,
Nomad
those are
is
good.
the company. Nomad Goods, I think, is their website.
Yeah, I love that long cable too.
And they have this one. This is the same thing. Charge my AirPods as well as my Apple Watch when I wear that. And so
cool.
yeah, I like things to be just minimal and bare.
That's the Tesla side
Yes, exactly. And then this is an 86-inch 8K
My God.
TV. It's a
Amazing.
Sony. And so I have Apple TV up here, and so I can put movies on and stuff while I work,
Yep.
just on like volume 0,
Yeah.
just for like a visual
Yeah.
inspiration. You know what I mean? So I'll put on like Lord of the Rings since it's super long, and I'll just see like these vast, grand Middle Earth landscapes in the background while I'm building this cinematic dark track or whatever, you know? So that's fun. And sometimes I'll have a singer in and I'll just for fun, we'll be like, hey, what's your favorite movie? And we'll just put it on while they're tracking vocals. It's
Yep.
kind
Familiarity.
of comforting
Yeah,
or whatever.
exactly.
Because of all my weird dark things over here.
Don't look over there.
Yeah, exactly. We'll put on Little Mermaid, you know, and that's it. I mean, it's really, I have the Mac Pro cheese grater rack in here.
How's that
And-
been?
Amazing.
Great.
It's awesome. I love it. Honestly, most of this I'm not using anymore. This is a Tube Tech compressor. So I'm basically using the headphone amp. I have these hooks under here.
Uh-huh.
So I have headphones for me and the singer. And then it goes into the Apollo, and I have a couple plugins I go through and print on the way in, and then
Yeah.
chain in Pro Tools after that.
So you'll have like a sort of a vocal chain on console, on the
Yes.
UA console that you like. Do you have like a go-to to start with anyone, or you sort of dial
I
in?
use this, yeah, I'll show you. I use the same thing for everybody. So this is the Manly Black ref mic.
Yeah.
the only mic I have. I'm a collector, and I knew that if I started collecting mics, it'd get dangerous really quickly.
Yeah.
So I use that mic, and that's amazing for everybody, from like soft female whispering vocals for a trailer and yelling angry rappers, hypothetically.
Yeah.
This is honestly, my chain is at least printing on the way in.
Oh, cool.
Just 2 LA2As.
Look at that.
It's not that big of a secret.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. I'm not going through EQ, I'm not printing reverb or tuning or anything else. You know, obviously I dial the input
Yep.
and then the gains and the reduction or whatever. But going through 2 compressors and hitting them both somewhere between, 3 and 5 or whatever.
Yep. You ever put on use the aux for effects for vocalists while they're tracking, or do you keep it
so
dry?
I have it on post here, so it's not recording. And I have a reverb and a delay.
Nice.
So if they want, reverb, depending on the song, they'll want more or less,
I'm a big fan of UA console software, and unfortunately, it's just not that sexy of a thing to talk about, even though there's so many things you can do in it.
Right.
But I noticed you have the API vision on there bypassed. Is
Yeah.
that because sometimes you like it to be more of a clean sound?
Yeah, I was using API Vision for a little while, and I wasn't really even doing anything in it. It was just going through it, in Unity mode. Is that what it's
Unison.
called? Unison. It would give it like a color,
Yeah.
but I just, after a while, it felt like it started feeling a little too baked.
Yeah.
Going through these 2 LA2As also.
That's incredible.
So I just bypass it, and I can get a really clean, clear, perfect vocal, and then I can make it dirty in Pro Tools if I wanted to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. That's really fascinating. That's cool to hear that it's literally just the Apollo pre with a couple of their legacy LA2s. I love the legacy versions of all their stuff more than the other ones.
I know. That's what I've used
Yeah.
since day one, is the legacy. It's one of those things where it's like 100 different things would work.
Yeah.
This is just the way that I've done it, so I know it.
Yep.
And it's working, so I don't want to change it for no reason,
Honorable mention, ATC. What are these, 150s, 100s?
I think these are the 50s. They sound so good, and they're very deep, and you feel like you can reach in and place instruments and vocals and reverbs. Like you can hear 0.5 dB change in a reverb volume, whereas most of the time you have to change 3, 4, 5 dB to really hear it. This is so much space that you can place things properly so it actually translates anywhere. When you leave and listen in your car, it's still feels like what you were trying to accomplish.
And then you've got the trin off.
I am actually not using the trin off.
Oh, you're not? Oh, cool.
I might someday, but I've been traumatized by the trin off.
Oh, tell me that, because I'm on the fence of getting it.
Oh man, okay, well, when the trin off was first set up for me, I guess you're supposed to set up a mic and it runs a test and automatically just sets it for you, and it's like a 2-minute thing. But when the trin off was set up for me, I think there was a lot of manual adjustment by someone that created all kinds of problems.
Okay.
And I didn't know that, and so I was hearing things crazy, and it wasn't translating anywhere, and I couldn't hear things, and there was a black hole that I could throw 20 sounds in and I couldn't hear it.
Yeah.
And it was just really weird. So I bypassed that, and it solved all my problems. So now I'm it's probably amazing. I have 10 friends that are dude, the trin off's amazing. You would love it. Let me help you set it up. But honestly, it's if everything's working right now, I don't feel like I need it.
Yeah,
If something
great.
was messing with me acoustically in here and I was I can't hear this, the frequencies are, then I would probably jump to using it, but
Yeah.
I don't feel like I need it.
Can I ask you just a little bit of your back story?
Yeah.
How did you get into the niche that you're in? Because you're in a very particular thing and you're very, very good at it.
Well, it's by accident, really. I mean, so my whole life I grew up listening to movie trailer music. When I was 16, this movie trailer music started kind of changing. And I remember it was the first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire. They used a song by Immediate Music called Lacrimosa. And it's just it's that super epic strings and choir, with hits.
Yeah.
And it was kind of more of a new sound that really started taking off. And while everyone's listening to the radio in their cars and top 40 and these bands and these artists, I was I was that nerd listening to trailer music in my car.
Yeah.
Not because I even wanted to make it, just because I enjoyed it. I just liked listening to it. It made my life feel like there was adrenaline just driving to school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So skip a bunch of years, basically. I ended up coming into the industry with NF. He's my friend that, he's a rap artist from Michigan as well. And so we made a bunch of music. He got signed to Capitol. They signed me as a writer. They were kind of putting me in a bunch of different rooms, like, what else do you do besides NF? Can you do this kind of music and that kind? And one day they were just like, hey, do you want to come to this TV film camp and try to write for that? And I was like, what is a TV film camp? You know, I'm very indoorsy, so I hear the word camp and I'm like, you know, get away. And they're like, oh, it's like where you write songs for movie trailers. And I was like, what? That's a thing? Yeah, I want to do that. And so they put me in a room, and that week I did 2 or 3 songs, and they both really quickly landed like big movie trailers and TV show promos. And I'm like, what is this world? They didn't even know that I had that background of listening to cinematic music. It was like by chance that they offered, hey, do you want to try this? So as soon as that door cracked open, I like shoved it open and ran through it. Like, that's all I really want to do now.
Was one of those the song I brought up?
Soldier, yeah. That was actually like my first cinematic trailer song I've ever made. And it was with Flurry. And I think it was her first also. So we just got in the room, we were like, hey, we're supposed to make a song for our trailer? And I'm like, okay, I got these strings. She's like, oh, I got this idea of a soldier thing. And we just, like 1 hour, the song was almost done. It was just really quick. It's become one of our most placed in trailer songs that I've ever done.
That's incredible.
Kind of like, it was like I remember the feeling, it was a Concussion with Will Smith, that movie, the football movie. Do you remember? That used Soldier in one of the trailers. And I remember watching it on my phone. Like, it was the first time I ever had a song in a trailer. And hearing our song over like the quick action clips and Will Smith, and like the date at the end like shows right when I put that boom at the end, which is exactly what I was picturing, you know? And like, it was just all coming to life. So it was like very quickly just addicting. Like, that was it. I've been hooked. You know what I mean? So
that's so cool. Literally got goosebumps. I had found that song, and I guess without knowing that, you know, there was a tie to you, that was my first introduction into that genre, really, as well.
Yeah. Well, dude, it's so fun that there's a whole world of an audience for this genre of like cinematic music, and it's not really widely known unless you're in the audience for it. You know, there's no drop-down menu in like iTunes or Spotify of like a genre of like cinematic. Right? It's like pop, hip hop, country, rock. But there's no cinematic genre, even though there's tons of music with tons of followers and listeners that listen to it, and obviously all the TV shows that use that kind of music too.
Yeah,
you know?
that's really cool. So your background as a musician, what were you playing?
I started piano when I was like 7. So I'm a piano player at heart. That's my first main instrument. But nowadays, you know, MIDI has come so far. Now I can like control real instruments being played by the keys, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't have to learn how to play the violin and the cello and the trombone and the horns, right? I get to like play them, but in a way that I'm familiar and comfortable with. So I think that has helped, you know, knowing theory and piano.
Yep.
But getting to build and play all these instruments and layer them up and build these things, that's like my favorite thing in the world to do.
After we worked this out, I went digging through your channel and I watched your production breakdowns, which if people haven't seen, they should go check out because they're really well made. What are some libraries that you find really inspiring?
How long can these videos be? 'Cause that's like my love language. So my addiction, not gear, my addiction is sound libraries.
Yeah.
Right? So I have like 14 or 15 terabytes. I know, it's like a shameful confession. Of just sound libraries, strings and orchestras and brass, you know, and cinematic effects and trailer effects and all that stuff. And I use them, and I feel like I love the never-ending resources of inspiration that, you know, I could go and find something out of millions of sounds. You know, sometimes it can be overwhelming, I'll admit. But man, I could talk about sound libraries all day long. My favorite sound library of all time is probably Berlin Strings by Orchestral Tools.
Orchestral Tools, okay. Yeah.
You heard that?
I have, yes.
So orchestraltools.com is like, they have They have tons of orchestral libraries, tons now. But Berlin Strings was kind of like their flagship, like really deep articulations, solo and ensemble. And I can't get over them. Even now, I've had them for probably 7 years now. And every time I play them, I'm like, this is incredible, you know? But Heaviosity has some really amazing stuff.
I thought I knew like the Spitfire, East West, and like a couple, but like I haven't heard of a bunch of those. So now I can go down that rabbit hole myself.
Keep Forest is the best for like trailer hits and downers and risers and whooshes, like the effects side of things.
Yep.
Incredible. I feel like a lot of people haven't heard of Keep Forest.
No.
But those are like probably the best. They're loud and just perfectly mixed.
That's awesome. And you're in Pro Tools.
Pro Tools, yeah.
You do rights here. If you were producing your tracks, again, I'll put a link to your channel down below just so people can check that out. The songs are on there, right? That you've produced?
Yeah, it's really like a storehouse for like all of the stuff I create. It's, you know, like all the projects and songs and trailers and stuff. But then every once in a while, I'll, like you said, like how I broke down this track, whether it's with an artist or a trailer song or whatever. Cool.
Well, I'll put a link to that. Definitely encourage anyone watching this to go check that out. I'm gonna go home and download all those libraries.
Do it.
Do you have anything that has either recently come out that people can go check out that's maybe not on YouTube, any movie stuff or anything like that?
I just released a cover of Cry Me a River, the Justin Timberlake song, but I did like a dark, cinematic, Stranger Things 80s synth version of it. That's probably one of my favorite things I've done in a long time. But that's like, that was the leading single of like a bunch of stuff that's about to come out for the next several months.
Cool.
The new cinematic project coming out this fall, which is just songs that are for people who are working out or exercising or to use in a trailer. They kind of work for both of those things, you know?
Now, can I find that on like Apple Music, Spotify? Is that on an album or a playlist, single, all of them?
Everywhere, yeah.
Okay, Cry Me a River, Tommee Profitt.
Yes. With Nicole Serrano.
With Nicole
and
Serrano.
A children's choir.
Oh, sick.
And an adult choir. We kind of went over the top on that.
Of course, well, Justin Timberlake.
That's what you do. When you make songs for trailers, everything is just over the top all the time.
That's awesome. Well, dude, thank you so much for having me here. And
yeah, thanks for coming.
Wanted to do this one for a while. It's a really cool studio.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
All right, I'll put links to everything down below, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye. I want to thank Sweetwater for sponsoring this video and all the other studio tours. If you're curious about any of the gear you saw in Tommie's studio, as well as the gear that I use here, there are links to it down in the description. Those are affiliate links that will take you to Sweetwater. Also, I wanted to highlight a piece of gear that Tommie is using in his studio, and this really impressed me and blew my mind. It's the Apollo X interface. Now, a bunch of the Apollo X interfaces have onboard microphone preamps that you can use, and the preamps use what they call unison technology, which allow you to choose plugins that you can apply to the mic pre, and the behavior of the preamp will actually change to the character of the plugin that you select. For instance, like an old Neve 1073 or an API Vision channel strip or something like that. It actually converts your preamp's behavior to mimic these old vintage pieces of gear that are very expensive and very awesome. I've used the Unison technology and the UA plugins for like 5-6 years, but I was really blown away to see that Tommie's chain is literally just the onboard preamp of the Apollo X. No emulation, just the clean, transparent preamp from the Apollo X, as well as their plugins that he records through. And if you didn't know, on the Apollos, you can actually record through their plugins to the recording, which is amazing, which has been one of the selling points for me personally. I've always loved the ability to use the plugin and actually process the recording in real time or decide to just use it as a monitoring technique. I thought it was so cool seeing Tommy's chain and seeing that this is what he uses on all these massively successful records. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, I'll link to the Apollos down in the description. I'll also put a link to the UA satellite, which is extra DSP that you can use to power some of their plugins. I just added one to my setup recently. It's been fantastic because I use a lot of the Universal Audio plugins on my mixes and on my recordings, and it just gives you more power so you can do that. Not all of the UAD plugins are available on the Spark subscription, so the satellite is fantastic for adding more power to be able to use some of those great plugins like the Capital Chambers, Oceanway Studios, the Neve 1084, Manly Verimu, the Lexicon 480L, stuff like that. These are plugins I use almost every single session, some of my favorite pieces. So I'll put links to that stuff down below. Thank you, Tommee, for having me out. Thank you, Sweetwater, for sponsoring this video. And thank you guys for watching. This was a really fun one, and I appreciate you guys hanging out and watching all these videos and going on this journey with me. It's been a lot of fun. All right, see you in the next one.